It's not good, is it? Well, as you can probably guess from the thumbnail and title of this video, I hit a cyclist with the car, and this is the aftermath of what happens. So I'm going to go through everything that happened, give you a rundown of events, and tell you what's happening with the cyclists, what happened to myself, what's happening with the car, and we'll take it from there. So the story starts, it's the last day of work right before Christmas. So it's the last working day for me. I'm coming home, just got out of the place where I work, and I'm all ready and happy to go home and enjoy a couple of weeks off work for the festive season. And I'm coming down a slip road, merging onto a 60-mile-an-hour road, and a cyclist comes out of the footpath where you're not meant to cycle, and literally just comes straight out into my car. I T-boned him about 45 miles an hour, and as you can see, the damage was pretty extreme. The cyclist wasn't wearing a helmet, high vis, no reflectors, no lights, riding where you're not meant to ride, and also riding across a road. Thankfully, there was witnesses behind at the time who actually said, no, there was nothing I could have done. I didn't even have time to react, to put on the brakes or swerve. It was that sudden. Thankfully, I know that I wasn't speeding, and I also was not distracted at the time. I was paying 100% attention to the road, which is a good thing, because if I was distracted and perhaps looking at the radio or something, I would have that on my conscience, thinking, was there something I could have, should have, would have done? Thankfully, I know there's nothing I could have done on that side of stuff, but still the situation is not good for anyone. It's definitely a lose-lose situation. So I'm going to show you what happened to the car first. I'll talk you through the night of what happened, and then we'll go through plans for the 3 series. Okay, let's start off by talking about the initial impact of the car. This is where the first impact was, and I believe this is probably where the pedal of the bike had gone through the bumper. You can see, like, this is a bumper cover, but it's actually wedged itself behind the main bumper structure. It's also taken the light out and damaged the wing a bit, so it's cracked and took a chunk out the wing. That crack was already here, so that was not sustained in the accident, but that was. The bonnet has deformed as well, so you can see that it's kinked out over here and it's lost its shape. So if you compare it to the wing, you can see it's a different angle. The wing's plastic, so that's not really deformed the shape too much, but you can see where the bonnet's just kind of come down about half an inch. The kidney grills as well on this side has also sustained some damage. So this here is the scary part of the accident, and the damage to the bumper is not really that shocking. You'd expect that to happen, but this really brings into context of what happened and how much worse the situation could have been. I don't know how no one was killed in the accident, but it's some kind of miracle that, as far as I know, the worst injury sustained was a broken leg. So yeah, the bike has been taken away by the bumper of the car, so that's carried on, and because the cyclist is a little bit higher up, he's just been swept under and impacted the windscreen here, and then bounced off the roof onto the ground. This is the situation where I think it's so, I can't really say lucky, but lucky that it was a car like this that hit him. One of my job roles is, as a test driver, is going out and taking cars down that slip road all the time. And while I say cars, I mean SUVs and also vans, full-size commercial vans. Now, if I hit the cyclist of one of them on my day-to-day jobs, I don't think he would have survived the accident. Thankfully, because my car's lower, it was able to deflect him over instead of actually flattening him. I also think perhaps if I was driving something like my Volvo, he'd have probably come through the windscreen and potentially could have killed me as well, because that came so close to actually hitting me in the car, which is also really, really scary. Every time I look at the car inside, I'm like, wow, that's a miracle that windscreen held, or the roof managed to deflect him away, because if you come into the car, I'm going to show you why this was such a scary accident, because I'm sat here in the car like this, and obviously he just comes out and it happens just like that. But the protrusion into the cabin is pretty extreme. The light is down here when it should be about half a foot higher. The windscreen is touching the actual top of the dashboard and comes out to where the top of the steering wheel is, all the way across to about 2/3 of the way in. So when you look at my line of sight here, this is exactly level with my eyes. Now, again, I'm so lucky that that held, because if that didn't hold, I didn't have to come into the car and it was heading straight for my face. Worst injuries I got out of this, well, I wasn't injured, I was just covered in a bit of glass. Of course, there was the having to live with the ordeal of what happens. And again, that's where I said that it's lucky that I know I wasn't distracted looking at anything like the iDrive system, and I was focusing on the driving itself, which at least means I'm not replaying the accident in my head thinking, oh, could have done this, could have done that. There's, at least I don't feel guilty about what happens, but again, it's still not something I would want to witness ever again. So yeah, obviously the damage is there. For the cyclist, that's been a good thing that he's hit that, because it's hit a soft part of the car. So I think if he'd hit the pillars and perhaps hit something like here, it'd be much worse, because that's solid, that's reinforced, rather than that being quite soft. I don't know whether the injuries would have been life-threatening at that point. So what happened straight after the accident? Well, of course, I beached the car on the pavement and just jumped straight out of the car and ran over to the guy. My colleague Bernie, who was following behind at the same time, he did the exact same thing, and we ran to him from opposite directions. At this point, the guy wasn't moving, and, well, I thought he was dead. After feeling that impact in the car, and I felt it, I didn't just see it, I felt the impact, I thought the guy for sure was dead. Somehow he was just unconscious, thankfully, but it could have been so much worse. And that's when people started either stopping or coming over, or people coming out to work and managed to got caught up in the aftermath of the accident and also helped out. So to everyone, I'm very thankful, but I'm just going to read a few names off the top of my head and just thank a few people. So first I want to thank Dave Peacock. He's one of the managers who works at our place. He's a trained first aider. He was, after me and Bernie on the scene, the first person to arrive, and he got out of his car, sprang straight into action and started giving critical first aid. And firstly, I just want to say thank you to Dave. You were absolutely awesome that night. So thanks for staying so cool and calm during the situation. It was just so vital you were there and valuable. So I'll always be grateful for that. Also, thank you to the off-duty police officer who was walking past. Unfortunately, I didn't catch her name, but she was really good as well at coordinating the efforts of getting the paramedics and the police there. I mean, I phoned the police as soon as I called, or the paramedics was my first call actually, but I wasn't thinking completely straight at that time, obviously, because of the shock and adrenaline of the impact. Also, thank you to Karen, who works in our medical, for coming down and also making sure things were okay. Thank you for Lynn for comforting me. Thank you to Colin, and thank you to Kev as well for actually staying there during this time and making sure everything was okay. Thank you to the guy passing by in the Vauxhall Corsa. Unfortunately, I didn't get your name either, but thank you for staying there for the entire time and also giving a statement to the accident as for being a witness. So I'm also very thankful for that as well. And then finally, thank you to my Uncle Neil for coming and getting me that night. I know that he was glad to be off work and probably wasn't very happy that I called him back into work on his day off, but yeah, he came and also managed to give me a lift home. So thank you very much for everything you did as well, Neil. I'll also be grateful for that. And if there's anyone else I missed off, I'm very sorry, but to each and every person there, I am very, very grateful. So after we made sure the guy is alive and the paramedics come on to see it, they obviously tend to the guy who's been hit, and then that's where the police come and take me, put me in the back of a police car and do everything like drug testing and breathalyzing and asking me questions, which honestly didn't feel very nice. It was a kind of like a guilty until proven innocent kind of situation. Yes, I can understand why, but still doesn't make it very pleasant. Obviously, I'd not been drinking, I don't take drugs, so I was completely clean, and the witness statements backed up exactly what I said as well, so there was no doubt, thankfully. And I'm also again thankful that I wasn't distracted during the time driving the car, because even if I was looking down at the radio for split seconds and the situation was still the same and I didn't have reaction time, I wouldn't have known that, and I'd have been doubting it and I would have been feeling quite guilty at that point. So I'm just very thankful I was paying full attention at the time. And that's really, I want to say to cyclists and everyone on the road, not just cyclists actually, respect the public highways. There's a highway code. We all have equal responsibility on there. Just because you're on a bike and you think you can't cause as much damage, well, newsflash, you can. I mean, this might be an extreme example of physical damage that a bike can cause to a car, but you know, you can cause a car to swerve, you can cause a lorry to swerve. Cars have just as much responsibility to respect cyclists as well. Now, everyone needs to pay attention. Now, if this cyclist is not wearing helmets, high-vis lights, riding on the pavements, across the roads, it's like, come on. Like, come on, man, what are you trying to achieve here? The situation could have been so much worse. I could have been living with the guilt of killing you. You could have killed me and be living with that guilt. Thankfully, we have material damage, and as far as I know, a broken leg, and I think that's stuff people will get over. But that's just fortunate that was not any worse. I mean, this is situations people or our relatives could have lived with for the rest of our lives, and you know, it's irresponsible to really put people in that situation once you actually get on public highways. But anyway, I have to go and collect this car afterwards from a impound lot, which is about half a mile away, and charge me £130 for them to go and tow the car down there. And the police explicitly ignored my request to go and drag the car 30 feet back, or 100 metres, or whatever, about 100 metres back onto Jaguar's land, which is private, which is very nearby, and I could have collected the car from there, but no, that's the case. So I had to go and get the car the next day, because they would have charged £25 a day to keep the car in the impound lot, which, again, I'm not going to pay that much, so I thought, get that out there and get this home in my garden as quickly as possible. So they said they could release the car to me as soon as they were sure that there was no life-threatening injuries, or worst case still is that, you know, if the guy had died, then they would have had to keep the car for a while for evidence. But that night they said you can collect the car first thing in the morning, so that was a good sign in terms of the overall injuries sustained. Apart from that, I don't know any more than what happened. All I know, leg was snapped in two, and dislocated shoulder, which is pretty good considering that's the damage. Best case scenario, really. Well, what's my plans with the car now? It's back here in my garden. Well, I've had it here for a couple of months. I had it straight after the accident, pretty much. But I put a car cover on. But the storms over the last couple of weeks have been that bad here that I ripped the car cover off, and loads of water's gone inside the car, and it's now starting to destroy the interior. So I need to get this into the garage as soon as possible before things start to get worse. So the classic has had to come out. The Peugeot 205 is under cover over there, but that is watertight, at least to the elements. So I had to get this in the garage. So the Peugeot 205 is on hold. The 3 Series is going to be the next project, and I am repairing this car. This is where half of you are going to be going, what, are you crazy? You're repairing an 11-year-old BMW that's sustained that much damage? Can it even be repaired and be safe? Yes, but I will show you why. The other half will be quite happy that I'm repairing the car because, hey, this is Talksteer, this is what happens. And this is going to be the upcoming series now of repairing this BMW. So, from this point on, I'm not talking about the Cyclist anymore, because this is now about Talksteer. This is about the cars. We're going to have to look at this now as a project and do what we can on this, and maybe some of the contents will pay for the repairs, because I'm not going through the insurance on this car. I have a trade policy. I hit a Cyclist. They don't have insurance. If I claim on a trade policy, it's going to be more than the repair cost of the car, and it's just not worth it. So I could either break the car and be better off financially, or even repair the car and still be better off financially than what the insurance hit would be. And thankfully I got the car relatively cheap to begin with. Well, there we have it. That's what's happened to my 3 Series. So you know what to do. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't, give it a thumbs down. And if you think my car can't be repaired and you just want to see me fail, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button and watch my failure video by video. Also, check out my Instagram at TalksteerGT. I will be posting updates on this car in between the videos. I really want to document as much as I can with this car, so I'm going to show you everything that's happening with it. So it'd be great to see you over on Instagram as well. But until then, thank you all for watching this introduction on the accident with the 3 Series. And until next video, I'm just going to say to everyone, take care, stay safe on the roads, especially after this video, and I will see you next time.